Hello friendos and randos. Well, we'll be cooking every single deck. I've already cooked Regino and I've had pretty good results with it so far. It's the deck I've definitely tested the most. I play the most for fun as well. So this is the Regino list, and we're going to go through it based on the tier list that I uploaded the other day. So I'm gonna build a deck list for every single one of these decks, and then we'll talk about it. So yeah, I've built a deck list for everything here except for Nami, because I think Nami decks all pretty much look the same as well. But I will show you what I would run in this specific meta. Ratio wise, I think she's really powerful right now. Of course, there's two versions, which is this one which I'll call the Sunday version, and this one which I'll call the Foxy version. The Foxy version I feel is a lot less consistent because you are running this additional like 10 card package, which makes all of your searches hit less, and also it is a bit more high roll because of that. Whereas I think my Sunday version feels a bit more consistent. But I think both decks are really powerful. The one trade-off I think is that the Foxy version is slightly better into Mirror, is also slightly better into, I want to say it's slightly better into Dofi as well, just because you can match them on board with Porsche. But I also think it's much more high roll, whereas I think this version that I've created is slightly more consistent, and the high roll is actually has a stronger payoff to me, I feel, compared to the Foxy version. And then for Reiju into 08, I think it's pretty simple as well. What I would do is very simple. I think I would just go like I would go like that, and then I would go, what is it, like that, and then this is the 08 version, maybe even like that. So something like this is okay for 08. Similarly, you're going to play towards Judge, and then you're going to Maria after the Judge. So the turn after Judge is going to be Maria Sanchi most of the time. So that's probably the play. Now the game plan for this deck is very simple. 1 Dawn you stage, 3 Dawn you search, and then 5 Dawn Sunday, then 7 Dawn Judge. So that's the very straightforward and simple game plan. Then going second, similarly, 1 Dawn search, 4 Dawn Ichiji, 6 Dawn Sunday, then 8 Dawn Judge again. So it's a very straightforward game plan. It's very consistent as well. Judge at 3 instead of 4 because you still want to see it, but it's still a bit too bricky to play 4 of it in my opinion. I've also been considering just cutting the black bug for 4th Drama Searcher just to make it even more consistent. So this is probably a good baseline, and then after that, if you want to add text and whatever, like if you want to add like Red Rock or Gravy Blade, you probably just cut searches to adjust for it. I'm just a red Cooper. Yeah, I am also a red Cooper. I've been playing red for a very long time as well. Okay, so yeah, you can see I've already cooked all of the different deck lists. So we're gonna go down the line, and we're gonna go via the tier list in order. So after Regio, we have Bonnie. For 07.5, I think the correct play for Bonnie is to go 4 of 9 call Zoro. Now, this is because like I said, the tier list for me is Regio, BY, Bonnie at the top. And for Bonnie to beat BY and Reiju consistently, I think for Zoro is really good. Into Reiju, they really don't have an answer for this Zoro card, so you need to have that. Another good option into both of those decks is also the Bonnie. I think being able to prevent them from playing things on curve, especially against my Sunday version, right? If I were to play Sunday on 5 and you were to play Bonnie on 6 and lock my Dawn away, I think that's a really big L for me. So this is my idea of what to do for Bonnie in 07.5. The search ratios wise, I've tried to optimize them as much as possible. There is 8, 12, 16, 20 supernovas, and there is 8, 4, 4, 10, 14, 18 Doflamingo, Don Quixote Pirates. So it's like, I guess there's like there's a 1 card difference. So if you want, you can add another like Viola instead of the Apu. But yeah, searching wise, I think it's, oh sorry, there's 24. Okay, so actually then it should be Viola at 4, right? Then 4, 8, 4, 8, 14, 18, 22, and then this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20. Okay, Viola at 2, Apu at 2. We'll call it that. Where is Apu? Sorry, not Viola, Baby 5 at 2. Baby 5, baby 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Yep, like that. So this makes the ratio a bit more even, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20. Yeah, okay. So something like this, pretty good. Yeah, I think something like this would be good. It's a very standard Bonnie list. It's just that instead of the top end being either Kid or Roshinante, which are a bit more good into Lucci and RP Law, I think just play 4 Zoro because it beats Regio and it beats BY Luffy. And that's the two decks that are most important to me right now. So that's my current take. I'm sure like Noel will post a Bonnie list. He's the Bonnie expert, but for now this is my what I would build if I were playing 07 Bonnie. Next is BY Luffy. Similarly for BY Luffy, I think because Bonnie is going to be meta, it's good to play around the 10 cost Kozan variant instead. Into Reiju is actually very favored so long as you play around the pudding. So that's usually done by just playing down like your 2 cost bodies and so on and so forth, so that you can so that you can keep your hand size a bit smaller. Then of course 10 cost Kozan into AK Luffy KOs 9 cost Zoro, so that's the primary reason we're running so many of him. Love your YouTube videos. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Okay, so that's the I think the play for BY Luffy. I'm on 11 2k counters because I feel against Regio you may need the additional 2k, but I think you can also just run the 4th searcher and that'll be fine as well. I know SFK Sky really likes Ivankov, the 3 cost blocker, but personally I don't love it that much, so I'm not running any. Next, we're going to talk about Moria. I'm going to be keeping the Lucci source hidden because I'm working on it with my friend Matt, and we aren't fully confirmed on it, but it's the deck that we're definitely testing around the most with. So for Moria, I think it's very straightforward as well. Into Reiju, into Bonnie, and into BY Luffy, the best card is definitely Isho. So we're running 3 copies of that as well. We're running... Oh, I forgot to add brand new. No wonder there's so much space. Okay, 1 second. Yeah, okay, so for the current meta where I feel Bonnie, BY, and Regio are the top, Isho is a really, really good card. It helps you with board control in general. It also is a big body, so and it helps with reducing their hand size. So all of these decks also tend to at least have 6 cards in hand most of the time. So Isho is really powerful. Then other than that, it's a very standard tempo Moria list. You have the usual Thriller Bug package. You also have 4 cost Kuzan to support you with KOing 6 cost or lower characters with the Absalom as well. You also have Hina to do the same effect. I think it's also possible to cut the Hina. Now that RP Law is not as popular, this one is primarily used in conjunction with the Absalom to KO the 5 cost Cavendish and also like Niji and Regio. The main thing is that it does not hit Ichiji, which may be a reason enough for you to go Ice Age instead of the Hina, but for now I think it's okay to just keep running Hina. The primary benefit of this is the reusability of the Rebecca as well. So that's my current thoughts on this deck. I think it's still really good. Like you just play a very standard tempo version and you should be fine. I like playing the one-off Cerberus. Personally, I feel it's pretty good. You can play this plus Hawkback with your Moria to draw an additional card more consistently. Instead of using the Rebecca brand new and praying you hit one of the Navy cards. And then pretty standard 12 2k counter. Sakazuki for tempo plays is really good as well. And you can KO Ichiji with Tsuru Sakazuki, although it is going to be a bit late. If they do play Ichiji on their 5 non-turn, you can also kill it with Kuzan Sakazuki, so that's pretty good as well. So many Kuzan. I think it's good. I think Kuzan is really good. I think you could also cut it down if you want to add like a 4th Sabo or something like that. I think that's fair. So like something like where's Sabo? Like this? Like something like this is fine too. But I also am trying to be wary of the searchable targets for brand new. So this is 4, 7, 11, 14, 16, 19. 19 is pretty low, so that's why I think it's good to have that 3rd Kuzan as well. Where is he? Yeah, so this is 20 search targets, which is already a bit on the lower side, right? So 3, 6, 10, 13, plus 5, 18. Huh? Wait. 3, 6, 8, 11 plus 5. Am I dumb? 3, 6, 10, 13. Why did I say 3, 6, 8, 11? 3, 6, 10, 13. 13 plus 5, 18. Plus... Is that all? Oh, now I skip through. 8, 12, 8, 8, 12, 15, 20. Okay, there we go. Can't do math. Fuck. Okay, yeah, so that's the Moria list. Next is Enel. NL-wise, I think it's still going to be very standard. I think 6 cost vanilla is really good now. They don't really have a good answer except for Ice Age. I suppose you could do TK into Lucci or TK into Kaku or Zoro into Kaku even. But it's going to be much more inefficient without the stage to clear it. Other than that, you're still going to play 7 cost NL. I like to play cheaper Rush as well, just to be able to finish game a bit more efficiently. And then I think it's a very, very standard NL list. I don't think much changes now that the ban list is over. I think the main change is probably you would maybe be able to cut the 5 cost Luffy for more vanilla as well. But tough to say. Okay, then I built NL on my own when I got Haru as my best old friendo. Tough. I think this guy a bit hard to trust. I wouldn't listen to this man. Other than that, I think after NL, what's on my tier list after NL? After NL, we have Dofi and Boa. Okay, so Dofi, where's Dofi? My Dofi list is pretty standard. I mean, one off Rush Usopp as always. But I think there's nothing too special. We're playing a very O8 similar build with Sengoku, and the primary focus is find as many Jinbeis as possible. There is a lot of non-warlord targets for your leader effect, so this deck doesn't prefer to hit leader effect blind, primarily because we're still running the 6 cost Boa. I think 6 cost Boa is particularly good into 9 cost Zoro, of course, because we aren't running Red Rock. So into that matchup in particular, you want to hold on to 6 cost Boa for when they drop Zoro, and then you just Boa it 3 times so that it can't attack. Other than that, I think very standard warlord package. I'm not running the 4 cost vanilla. I'm running the Kaido instead. I feel like it's better to have that late game option, especially into the NL matchup, because without it, I think the matchup is really bad. Okay. Next is Boa. The Boa list is very similar. You can see the cards are almost exactly the same. It didn't really change much. Okay, for Boa, I think very similar deck list. I swapped the Mihawk 2K for Kaya instead, because you do want to manage your hand size a bit more with this deck. Other than that, I think I've also added Red Rock, and I swapped the Kaido to the Bounce Kaido instead. So I think it's a very, very straightforward Boa deck as well. The goal is just, again, control your opponent's board with Red Rock, Gravity Blade, and Kaido, keep refilling your hand size with your leader effect, and use Jinbei Weaver for early game pressure. The perfect curve is very simple, going second, search 2 times, Jinbei Weaver, Boa, then one of the removal events, or another Jinbei, and then after that 10 cost Kaido. So it's a very straightforward perfect curve as well. Okay, next is Perona. So my Perona build is very simple as well. It is a standard wano list. I'm also running 3 9 cost Zoro because again I think it's the best card into the top 3 decks in the format right now. I think Doflamingo is really, really good. I'm not playing a KO focused Perona build. That's why you don't see things like Ice Age or Sabo. It's very much focused on, for one, drawing a lot of cards so that you see your big bodies, and then after that reducing your opponent's characters with either Tsuru, Soldier, and then Ryuma to KO one at a time, and then you end the game with a lot of big bodies into Hody Jones. So a very strong combo is of course Hody Jones into resting your opponent's blockers, and then your Zoro swings 3 times, and then the Hody of course swings and your leader swings and everything like that as well. So with Hody Jones you're able to rest even up to 3 blockers, which is really, really powerful. Remove the Boa blocker. Yeah, I think I don't like the Boa blocker that much in either Dofi or in Boa, so that's why I've totally cut it. Then you beat my Dofi in mirror. Yeah lah, you're more talented than me. Of course you beat me in mirror. Hold on. Alright, what else? Okay. Other than that, we're playing 2 Yamato here mainly because we want to up the total number of wano targets, and we also want to up the number of targets for Hiyori a little bit, and I think it's really good into Enel. I think it's really good into Regio, because Regio doesn't really have an answer for 5 cost characters, and Regio also doesn't play that many blockers other than the Chopper, which you can rest with your leader effect very easily. So that's why we're running 2 Yamato. It's also of course going to Enel. I think it's not bad into BY Luffy. I think it's not bad into Bonnie as well, primarily because you just rest the Uruj or whatever and then you swing with it. But yeah, I think the most important thing is that you can just leave it there standing and it will just be menacing. Okay, next up we have Purple Luffy and Red Purple Luffy. So Purple Luffy. Okay, I think my Purple Luffy build is pretty standard. We're running 6 4-cost vanillas. We're running Queen, Kid, Polly, Magellan. So of course this is going to be for the Dofi and Reiju matchups, being able to KO the 4-cost Reiju in particular, 9-cost Kaido, to KO Niji, you can KO Cavendish, things like that as well. 7-cost Kid, I think this is the flex slot. I'm not entirely sure what you should run in this position. You could also choose to run Douglas Bullet, I think, because Hawkins and Sabo are going to be important cards to rest, so it may be a decent option to get rid of this for Douglas Bullet instead. So because again this hits cost 6 or less, so it hits Hawkins, it hits Urush, it hits what's his face? It hits Sabo, it hits Borsalino, etc, 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 Queen, Kid, etc. So, and if you're running this, I think you don't need to run Sheep's Horn anymore. Then you can probably run more 4-cost vanilla or more 2K counter. So Purple Luffy I think is a very straightforward deck as well. You ramp, so you on 3 Dawn you ramp, you take you play 4-cost vanilla, 7 Dawn you ramp, you play Pauli, or you play, I mean now you don't have 7-cost kit, so you play Pauli, ramp to 10, and then the next turn you can Kaido. If you're going second, you leader effect, you go Magellan, then you leader effect and Magellan again, and then after that you are on 6, 7 minus 1, 6. You are on 8 Dawn. Douglas is S in practice. I think there's I mean locally our most prominent Purple Luffy player is quite a proponent for Douglas. I think it makes sense, especially now without stage. I think it's harder to get rid of it. And again, because of the meta, right? Like you see, the top 3 decks don't really have an answer for it. Reiju doesn't have an answer to it. Bonnie doesn't have an answer to it. BY Luffy doesn't have an answer to it, other than Kuzan, but you can clear the Kuzan very easily before you drop the bullet, so I think it's fine. And I guess 10-cost Kuzan is also an issue, but it should be okay. I think Douglas is probably better than 7-cost Kid in the current meta. What else? Your secret deck kills. Yeah, I mean, we will see if that's true, I guess. What else? Okay, yeah, then I'm playing one off 10-cost Luffy. I think it's a decent finisher. If you're on 10 Dawn and you still have life, you can play down the Luffy, use your leader effect, swing for 6, and then after that next time you start with 4 active Dawn. Then if you still have 1 more life, you can take another life and go 10 by 12. So pretty good finisher. Just because, like, again, it's another free attack basically. It's a 12k rush plus a 9k rush attack. So pretty good. Other than that, 2Ks wise, ulti for ulti Patreon combo, Sanji, because you can use it after your Kaido, and then Khalifa because it's 4-cost and you can play it on your turn 1 going first if you miss your 4-cost vanilla or your ulti. On top of that, I also considered playing the 6-cost vanilla over the 5th and 6th 4-cost vanilla. So here's a few tech slots you can consider. 6-cost vanilla is pretty good going first and going second. Going second, especially after you Magellan. So you Magellan into 6-cost vanilla, which is pretty good. Other than that, 7-cost vanilla is also reasonable because you Magellan and then leader effect again, and then you can play 7. And then the other option is Shiki. I think Shiki is really decent as a cheap blocker, and it also helps you cycle. But I don't think you really need it because we're already running 12 blockers total. So if it were me, I would probably just run more 4-cost vanillas to keep it consistent. So this is what I would play. If you're playing Bullet, you may want to cut Sheep's Horn. But yeah, I think this should be fine. Like if you cut Sheep's Horn, you can just play more 4-cost vanilla like that. I think this is also reasonable. Okay, next is RP Luffy. So you can see secret RB Sabo deck here as well. Okay, RP Luffy. So RP Luffy, I think I went for a pretty straightforward build as well. The build is ramp to New Gate, and then after that rush with Dragon. So that's basically the game plan. You can see there's 2 sources of ramp, which is the Bon Clay. Jedex, thank you for the follow. There's 2 sources of ramp, which is the Bon Clay as well as the Janbat. In terms of counter events, I think this is pretty good because if you're on 8k base later in the game with Newgate, then this stops 2 9k attacks, which is pretty good as well. And I think RP Luffy is more scared of you going wide than you going tall, which is why included this instead of like Blast Breath or something like that. Of course, there's 4 Radical Beam, one of the best counter events in the game. I think Zorojiro is also a reasonable option here. I'm not sure what slot it would take. Maybe it would be the Bon Clay slot. So I think it's also reasonable to go... where is he? Here. Because I realized that there isn't really a good 3-down play as well. So maybe it would be like this instead of the Bon Clay. So we have Zorojiro for ramp, we have Jump Up for ramp. And that's basically it for now. Yeah, 2k counter wise, we're running Franosuke and Sanji and 6 counter events and 4 of the 0 cost event. So we've got quite a bit of gas for that in terms of overall counter. So I think 8 2k counters is fine. Anyway, it's more important to have counter later in the game, and that's where the beam is more important as well. So I think that should be it for this deck. Next. All Sunday, I would have included it, but the issue with it is that it has no counter, and we're already running a lot of boss monsters with no counter. So here we have 10, and then we also have Diablo Jambe, which makes it 12. And this deck doesn't want to run too many no counter cards, so that's why I didn't want to put All Sunday. Instead, I've put the Janbat. Indecisive with the All 7.5. Yeah, I think it's really hard to decide, because every deck has its strengths and weaknesses. I think there's a clear top 3. I think the clear top 3 is Reiju, BY, and Bonnie. And it's hard for me to decide which one is the top dog. I think it's arguable that Bonnie is the better deck out of the 3 because it has a better matchup into Reiju compared to Reiju into BY. So it's arguable that Bonnie is the top dog here. But I think, personally, I think Reiju is the most fun. I think Reiju is also the most high rolly. But BY and Bonnie are a bit more consistent. For number 1 consistency, I think it's Bonnie though. Okay, next I have Yamato. I have a very standard Wano version. So I have the Wano package with Momonosuke Hiyori, the other Hiyori, as well as Kikunojo. So Kikunojo and Momonosuke are the main targets for this Hiyori effect. And then we're playing Samurai to keep drawing into the bigger bodies. So I feel like the first 3 turns are very straightforward. You just use Yamato and then jam. And then later in the game, you use your searchers, you use your Samurai to draw into your big bodies, and then you chain Tank Horse Luffy, you chain Hody Jones, and then you just punch your opponent. There is a lot of no counter cards in this deck, but it is still pretty strong. It's important to play towards these bigger bodies, especially into the current meta, because against Bonnie, against BY, just your leader attack is not going to be enough a majority of the time. Of course, with Hody Jones being able to rest Bonnie's Dawn is still a very, very strong card, so you do have a very good shot into that deck as well. I think into Reiju, it really depends on how many blockers they manage to draw. But it's pretty straightforward. The main issue is that you don't hit 6 costs except with Hody Jones. Like if they're playing 6 cost Sanji, you can't really hit it unless you draw Hody. But other than that, it should be fine. You should be able to sustain quite well as well by using your searchers into Momonosuke combo to return your life. And then you can also do things like Hiyori, your last life, to put in 0 cost event, and then you Momonosuke the Hiyori on top, effectively giving you 3 life. So there's quite a few decent combos that I think this deck is pretty good at. The primary bad matchup is black because they have a lot of blockers in general. How I would play around it is to just play your big bodies, and then from there they may struggle to remove it. Okay, Yamato done. What's next? Zoro. I've chosen a full white beard package for the Zoro in 07. I think it's pretty good. The main reason is that it's just very consistently aggressive. I've chosen not to run Buggy in favor of the Doma, the one cost vanilla. I think Buggy is fine, but I didn't want to add too many no counter cards. I mean, we're on 14 only, which is still reasonable. But other than that, I also wanted to increase the number of Whitebeard Pirates targets, because now we are at 1, 2, 3, 4 only, so like 16 targets, which is actually very low for a searcher. So we're on, and this is double searchable by the Dadan as well, so we wanted to keep it pretty even. I think it's also feasible to run a Straw Hat focused version, which has a bit more rush in it, but the Straw Hat raid units haven't really kept up with the times, I think, which is why it's not that good. So until Zoro comes out, I think this is fine. Yamato Sky Aggro or Zoro. I think so Zoro I think will struggle into Bonnie primarily, and BY Luffy should be fine as long as you know how to play the matchup, like you know how to time when to hit, you know how to flood correctly. I think it should be okay. Sky Aggro Yamato, I prefer the Wano version myself because it plays a bit more top end. The Sky Island version I feel is not as consistent. it's a bit more high rolly if you hit Om Holy. But other than that, I think it also has a decent chance, especially into Reiju, especially into BY Luffy. I think Yamato is pretty decent. But I think the black matchup is just really bad. I think the blue matchup is not the greatest as well because of the number of blockers that they play. But that's just my opinion. Again, I haven't tested all of these enough to really give you like a firm and final opinions, but I can just tell you like the basic curves and the kind of lines of play that you can expect and why they're decent decks in the first place. Okay, next is Katakuri. Katakuri I think is also very straightforward. I'm playing a very high trigger variant. So Satori, Cracker, Sanji, Peros. So 16 trigger bodies. You could go higher at the cost of like this losing Onami. But I like Onami for the trigger quite a bit. I think it's reasonable to... Oh wait, I didn't add Kiku. Okay, my bad. Where's Kiku? Kiku Nojo. Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, then we do have to cut the Onami. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 18 bricks? 19 bricks. Pretty decent. I think it's not too bad. You can also swap the Cracker for Nekomamushi, but I don't really think you need to at this point. Arashi is definitely worse though, because it doesn't really hit anything in my opinion, and it's a discard to KO. Both versus Enel is rough, right? Yeah, I think both have a really bad matchup into Enel. Whereas I think the Wano Yamato version has a much better Enel matchup because you just drop like 4 Dofis and you should be fine. But that's just my opinion, I think. That's why my Zoro build also plays the 9-cost white build because it's harder for Enel to get rid of. Okay. Katakuri wise, yeah, very straightforward. A lot of trigger bodies. So Satori, Kiku, Peros, Sanji, Cracker. So 20 trigger bodies total. If you don't trigger one body at minimum, you're pretty unlucky, I think. Then the curve is very straightforward as well. Putting Peros anything, probably Kiku. Then 7 mum, 7 mum, 10 mum. So very simple, very simple deck. Very good deck as well. Has a good balance of everything. Gadatsu, I feel is not that good, but it's good into the Dofi. It's good into 5 life leader as well. So that's why we're still putting him in, but I don't think you need 4 anymore. And then 1 Rush Ace because Rush is always a good card. You can always catch people off guard with maybe Rush Ace plus Amaru to end the game. That's basically it for me. I think this is this straightforward Katakuri list. Okay, Red Green Law. So this is the Red Green Law I've cooked for 07. Oh, if you really like that Zoro is back, you will be really excited for 08 because if you haven't watched my 08 tier list video yet, I think Zoro is probably top 3 decks in 08. Let's see. Red Green Law. So Red Green Law wise, this is a very straightforward Red Green Law list I've cooked. I mean, most Red Green Law lists, right? This is the core. Like you can't really change any of the cards here. But what I've decided to add in my few tech slots are again 9-cost Zoro because I think in the current meta it's really good. So BY Luffy, Reiju, Bonnie even is pretty good. Then next we have Hody Jones. Hody Jones again, just rest blockers is really good as well. I think it's better than unblockable Luffy for the most part because, for example, if you have Hody Jones plus Cavendish, you can use Hody Jones, swing with Cavendish, and then resend the Cavendish and swing again, and then you get 4 extra Dawn to attack with. So that's pretty good as well. What else? Makino I really like as well. I put it at 4 instead of the Otama because I think in this types of games, usually you want to actually make your Nami and your choppers do work. And then I'm very fond of Makino combos as well. You can see in my YouTube shorts there is a 18,000 attack Otama video. So yeah, I think Makino is really good. That's why I'm playing 4 instead of Otama at 4. We're playing 11 2Ks total and only 4 of the blocker chopper and no bitch. Because I think for me, the main important part now is to, I think, be aggressive. Like I don't want to spend too many like Dawn on just playing bitch and just leaving it there. So we're focusing on timing the chopper more appropriately for the relevant timing so that we can survive the later stages of the game. And then lastly, I think Kick Killer is there just to increase the amount of aggro pressure you have. Again, this is really good with Restand Law because it goes 7 into 9. And a lot of the times when I was testing the unblockable Luffy at first, I really just wished it was Kick Killer because most people are playing around the unblockable Luffy already. So they won't really like they will just be blocking early enough, like on your other swings, that is actually just more valuable to have the additional attack. That's my opinion at least. In terms of search targets, 4, 8, 12, 14, 16 straw hats, which is less than ideal, but it is what it is. I don't think you can really negotiate that much on it. And then we also have we have 17 one costs, and then we have a fuck ton of supernovas, so 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 22 supernovas, so pretty standard ratios in terms of the searchability as well. So that's what I would play for Red Green Law. I think, again, I need to test it a little bit more, but this is what I've landed on for now. And then lastly, I think, which is something that's a bit more spicy, is the Red Black Sabo. I think with bottom decking a lot less common now, this is a pretty decent pick. This is what I've cooked for now. I'm not entirely sure if it's correct. But basically the game plan is pretty simple as well. You want to go second, you want to do Borsalino into one of the 6 cost blockers, and then you want to Moria or Dragon. So the Moria targets are very straightforward also. It's going to be either Searcher, Battle Betty, Karasu, and then Brook. So Brook attaches the 2-don onto your leader, which turns on your leader effect, and then Karasu of course is really good. Borsalino is also really good. And then we've added Perona as the choice for 2k counter here because I wanted more plays on 4-don, and I think hand destruction is pretty good. And in terms of the available like 2k counters, I think it was one of the best options. So if we look at the 2k counters for red and black, I don't think like it makes sense to play like Makino, for example, because there's only the Battle Betty Searcher. And I don't like Otama that much. There's no relevance here. I wanted something that is good when you call it off of Moria. Brook is the only one that really gives rested Dawn as well, so that's why I use that. I think in terms of reduction wise, it's okay. I guess it's feasible to use like Toy Soldier to combo with Sabo to hit a 8 cost or 5+6, or like 8+3, but I don't think it's needed personally. I think it's feasible, right? Like you can also use it with Sabo, so maybe it's actually this instead of the Tsuru, because this way you can actually hit your opponent's Moria, which is better. And that's the only cost-based removal anyway, so everything else is just very much I am playing tempo and I am punching your face. So I don't really think you need to play 2k. I think it's also possible to play Khalifa even instead of that. So this is the main flex slot for me. I'm playing Sabo mainly because it's good tempo on your 8-don turn, and I think it's also searchable. It's searchable off Battle Betty, and I wanted a few more revolutionary targets, and I think this is pretty good. In terms of like funny combos you can make, if you are willing to go down on the number of 2k counters you play, from 10, which is what I'm running. I'm playing 14. If you want to go down on the number of 2k counters, I think it's funny if you want to play Ivankov, the 4-cost Ivankov, because if you play Moria Ivankov Brook, you can use the Ivankov's effect to bring down another character on your 8-don turn, but the issue is just that I'm not playing that many revolutionaries, so there's no point to play it for me. I think Khalifa is also a pretty decent 4k body, like 2k counter to play. But yeah, for me, if I were to play 2k counters, I like Perona a lot. So I would play Perona, and I would probably play 2 of the Toy Soldier. I think that's the 2ks I would play. So this is probably what I would run. If you want to run just 12 2k counters, I think that's also feasible. Then you can just run more Key and Killer. So we're on 4, 8, 10, 12 bricks. So I think, yeah, it's feasible to just play Key and Killer in this slot as well. So something like this would be pretty good. Thank you, friendos and randos, for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys again next time. Peace out.